The morning sun rose over Kepler-4 for 2b. Like any other day, Dr. Minho Kim wiped sweat from his face as he walked between the dig sites. His team had been working on this planet for 6 months now. They found old ruins, broken pottery, and strange metal pieces. Nothing special. Nothing that would change the galaxy forever. But today was different. Dr. Kim, come quick. Sujin Lee's voice cut through the morning air. She was young, only 25, but she knew more about alien languages than anyone else on the team. Her voice carried fear and excitement at the same time. Minho ran toward the sound. He found Sujin standing in front of something impossible. Where yesterday there had been empty ground, now stood a crystal tower. It reached up toward the sky like a giant finger. The crystal was clear as water, but filled with moving lights that danced inside it. When did this appear? Minho asked. This morning, Sujin said. Her hands shook as she pointed at the tower. I came to check the site at sunrise. It wasn't here yesterday. I'm sure of it. Other team members gathered around them. Yuna, their equipment specialist, held her scanner toward the crystal. The device made angry beeping sounds and then went silent. My scanner is dead, Yuna said. This thing killed it somehow. Minho walked closer to the crystal tower. It was warm. He could feel heat coming from it, even though he stood 3 feet away. The lights inside moved faster when he got closer. Sir, Sujin said quietly. I think it wants me to touch it. What do you mean? Look at the lights. They're moving toward me. Minho looked. She was right. The dancing lights inside the crystal all moved toward Sujin's side of the tower. When she stepped left, they followed. When she stepped right, they followed. Don't touch it, Minho said. We need to call this in first. But Sujin wasn't listening. Her eyes were fixed on the crystal. Something pulled her toward it. She took 1 step forward, then another. Sujin, stop. She reached out her hand. The moment her fingers touched the crystal, everything changed. Light exploded from the tower. Not the kind that hurts your eyes, but the kind that fills your mind. Sujin's body went stiff. Her eyes rolled back. The lights inside the crystal moved like a storm. Then Sujin spoke, but it wasn't her voice. It was deeper, older, like the voice of mountains. The children wake, she said. The chosen ones, remember? Images filled the air around them. Minho saw creatures made of pure light. They were beautiful and terrible at the same time. These beings moved between stars, like humans walk between rooms. They shaped planets with their thoughts. They were gods. The Eternals, Sujin's strange voice continued. We who came before, we who prepared the way. The images showed Earth, but not the Earth, Minho knew. This was Earth, millions of years ago. The light beings stood over early humans. They touched human heads with fingers made of starlight. They left something behind, something sleeping in, human blood. Now the time comes, Sujin said. Now the children must choose. The images changed. Minho saw human colonies across the galaxy. On each world, crystal towers rose from the ground. Humans touched them. Light filled their eyes. They began to change. Then the vision ended. Sujin fell to her knees. The crystal tower still glowed, but softer now, like a lamp waiting in the dark. What did you see? Minho asked. Sujin looked up. At him, her eyes were different now. They held depths that hadn't been there before. We're not alone, she whispered. We never were. And now they want us to remember who we really are. 3 hours later, Commander Giwon Park received the emergency message on her ship. She was leading patrol duty near the edge of human space. Her job was boring most days. Watch for pirates. Check cargo ships. Keep the peace. The message changed everything. Commander, her communications officer, said, Priority 1 message from Kepler-44 to B. They say it's urgent. Giwon read the message twice. Crystal towers, ancient gods, humans chosen for something. It sounded crazy, but Dr. Kim was a good man. He didn't lie about important things. Set course for Kepler-44 to B, she ordered. Maximum speed. But they were too late. As Giwon's ship jumped through space, Toward the dig site, other things were moving too. Far away, in the dark between stars, sensors detected the awakening. Ancient machines that had slept for 1,000,000 years suddenly came online. They sent signals across the galaxy. The Vorthok Empire received those signals first. Emperor Crystal stood in his throne room on the capital world. His skin was gray like old metal. His eyes were black holes that seemed to eat light. He had ruled the galaxy through fear for 300 years. Nothing happened without his knowledge. The signal made him afraid. "What is this?" he asked his science officer. "Unknown energy signatures, my lord, coming from human colonies. All of them at once." Humans. Crystal spoke the word like a curse. Those weak creatures, what could they possibly do to threaten us? But deep in his mind, old memories stirred. Stories his grandfather had told him. Legends of the Eternals, beings of light who had vanished long ago. Beings who had promised to return. "Send the fleet," he ordered. "All of it. I want every human world surrounded. If they refuse to surrender, destroy them." "My lord, there are millions of humans spread across hundreds of worlds. It would take. I don't care what it takes." Crystal's voice shook the room. "The humans have awakened something. Something that should have stayed sleeping forever. We end this now, before it can begin." Back on Kepler-4 for 2b, Sujin sat by the crystal tower. The images had stopped, but she could still feel them in her mind. She understood things now that she hadn't before. Languages that no human had ever learned. Sciences that no human had ever discovered. And she knew they were coming. "Dr. Kim," she said quietly. "We need to leave this place, right now." "Why?" She looked up at the stars. Even in the daylight, she could see them now. See the ships moving between them. Ships filled with beings who wanted to destroy humanity before humans could become what they were meant to be, because the real test is about to be. 3 days after the crystal towers appeared, the galaxy changed forever. Admiral Taeon Choi stood on the bridge of his battleship above New Sol Colony. Through the windows, he could see the Vorthok warfleet. Their ships were massive. Black, metal monsters that blocked out the sun. Each one could destroy a city with a single shot. "Sir," his officer said, "they're demanding we surrender. All humans must stop touching the crystal towers. If we refuse, they will attack." Taeon looked down at the planet below. 2 million humans lived there. Families, children, people who had done nothing wrong except exist. "Tell them no," he said quietly. "Sir, tell them humans don't surrender to bullies." But even as he spoke, Taeon knew his small fleet couldn't win. The Vorthok had ruled the galaxy for centuries. They had weapons that could crack planets. Humans had courage. But courage couldn't stop laser cannons. Then something impossible happened. Down on New Sol Colony, a young woman named Yuna Kong was running from Vorthok soldiers. They had landed that morning and started hunting anyone who had touched the crystal towers. Yuna had touched hers 3 days ago. Now strange things kept happening around her. The soldiers cornered her in an alley. She had nowhere to run. They raised their weapons. "Please," she whispered. "I just want to go home." The soldiers fired. Yuna closed her eyes and wished she could disappear. When she opened them, she was standing behind the soldiers. The laser bolts had passed right through her. She looked at her hands. They were see-through like glass. The soldiers spun around. Their eyes went wide with fear. Yuna was as surprised as they were, but somehow, she understood. The crystal tower had awakened something inside her. Something that let her move through solid matter, like it wasn't there. "Impossible," one soldier said. Yuna smiled. Then she walked through the wall and vanished. Similar things happened across the colony. Jaewon Lim discovered he could make things float with his mind. Heavy things, light things. Even Vorthok soldiers, much to their terror. When they tried to shoot him, he made their weapons too heavy to lift. Dongmin Song found he could move faster than human eyes could follow. One moment he was here, the next moment he was there. Vorthok soldiers couldn't hit what they couldn't see. The news spread quickly. Humans weren't helpless anymore. The crystal towers had given them power. Real power. Dr. Youngji Cho received reports from dozens of colonies. Humans were developing abilities that broke the laws of physics. She worked day and night to understand. Why? It's in our DNA, she told her research team. The Eternals put something there, something that was sleeping until the towers woke it up. But how is this possible? Asked her assistant. Think of it like this, Youngji said. Imagine your brain is a radio. For millions of years, it could only receive one station. Now the towers have given us new antennas. We can receive stations we never knew existed. What kind of stations? The frequencies that control reality itself. While humans discovered their new abilities, the Galactic Council met in emergency session. 12 alien species sat around a massive table. They had ruled the galaxy together for thousands of years. Now they faced something that terrified them. Ambassador Kehoe Bay represented humanity. He was a small man with kind eyes, but the other ambassadors looked at him like he was a dangerous animal. Your species must be contained, said the sector representative. His skin was green scales that rippled when he spoke. These powers you have gained threaten the natural order. We haven't hurt anyone, Kehoe said calmly. We're only defending ourselves. Today you defend, hissed the Vexnari ambassador. Her body was made of living crystal that chimed like bells. Tomorrow, you conquer. We have seen this pattern before. When Kehoe asked, the aliens grew quiet. Finally, the eldest spoke. He was Nethra, a being made of gas that floated in a containment suit. Long ago, he said, there were others like you, the Eternals. They started as mortal beings, but power changed them. In the end, they became so godlike, they forgot what it meant to be alive. They vanished, leaving only empty space where their worlds used to be. We're not them, Kehoe said. That's what they said too. While politicians argued, ordinary humans learned to use their gifts. Sion Han was a cargo pilot. She transported supplies between human colonies. Her job was simple and boring. Then she touched a crystal tower. Now her ship could do things that should have been impossible. She could jump across vast distances in an instant, not through hyperspace like normal ships. She could step outside of space itself and appear somewhere else. This is cargo ship Morningstar, she radioed to traffic control on Earth, requesting permission to land. Morningstar, you're not on our sensors. What's your location? Pluto orbit, Sion said. Impossible. You were just at Alpha Centauri. That's a 4-day journey, not anymore. Sion's discovery changed everything. Human ships could now travel anywhere instantly. The galaxy suddenly seemed much smaller, but with great power came great danger. Captain Wusong-o commanded a deep space exploration ship. His mission was to follow the star maps the crystal towers had revealed. The maps pointed toward the center of the galaxy, towards something the Eternals had left behind. Sir, his navigator said, we're being followed. Wusong looked at the sensors. 3 Vorthok shadow ships stayed just at the edge of detection. They had been following for 2 days. They want to see where we're going, he said. Should we lose them? No. Let them follow. When we find what we're looking for, they'll understand why they should have left us alone. But Wusong was wrong about one thing. The Vorthok ships weren't the only ones following them. Something else moved in the dark between stars. Something much older and more dangerous. The Eternals weren't completely gone. One remained. And it had been waiting for this day for a very long time. Back on Earth, Hyeben Kwan sat in a government meeting room. She had once been a slave on a Vorthok world. Now she worked for human intelligence. Her job was to understand alien technology and use it against them. The Vorthok are scared, she told the room full of generals and scientists. I've never seen them like this. They're calling up every ship, every soldier. This isn't just a war to them. They think it's the end of the world. Good, said General Park. Let them be scared. You don't understand, Hyeben said. When the Vorthok get scared, they don't just fight, they destroy everything. Planets, stars, entire solar systems. They would rather see the galaxy burn than Lose control of it. The room went quiet. How long do we have? Asked the general. Hyeben looked at the intelligence reports. Vorthok fleets were moving toward human space from every direction. Soon they would arrive in numbers that would blot out the stars. Maybe a week, she said. Maybe less. Outside the meeting room windows, ordinary humans walked the streets of Earth. They didn't know that war was coming. They didn't know that alien fleets were crossing the galaxy to destroy them. But some of them had touched crystal towers. And deep in their minds, new thoughts were stirring. Thoughts that weren't quite human anymore. The awakening was just beginning. Captain Wusung O's ship reached the center of the galaxy after 7 days of travel. What he found there made him forget how to breathe. My God, whispered his navigator, Myong-ju. What is that thing? Before them hung a structure bigger than any planet, bigger than most suns. It was made of the same crystal as the towers, but this one pulsed with the light of 1 billion stars. Geometric patterns covered its surface. They moved and changed like living things. It's a city, Wusung said quietly. Or maybe a machine. I can't tell which. Sir, the communications officer called out. We're getting a signal. It's in Korean. Put it through. A voice filled the bridge. It sounded human, but older than mountains. Welcome, children of Earth. You have found the nexus, the place where gods are born. The ship moved toward the massive structure without anyone touching the controls. It was being pulled by forces that human science couldn't explain. We are being tested, the voice continued. Each species that reaches this place must prove they deserve the power of creation. Many have tried, all have failed. What happened to them? Wusung asked. They became something else. Something that forgot what it meant to be alive. The ship passed through the crystal wall like it was made of air. Inside, they found impossible things. Rooms bigger than cities, corridors that folded back on themselves, gravity that pointed in 6 directions at once. The trials begin now. The voice said that the world around them disappeared. Wusung found himself standing in a burning city. Alien buildings crumbled around him. Strange creatures with 4 legs and silver skin ran past him, screaming in terror. Above the city, ships rained fire from the sky. He wasn't alone. His entire crew stood with him. They all looked confused and afraid. Is this real? Asked Myong. Before anyone could answer, one of the silver-skinned aliens fell at Wusung's feet. It was badly hurt. Green blood flowed from cuts on its body. It looked up at him with eyes full of hope. Please, it said in broken Korean, help us. Save our children. Wusung looked around. He saw his crew's weapons lying on the ground nearby. Advanced human guns that could cut through any armor. If they picked up those weapons, they could fight the ships above. They could save themselves. But the alien civilians would die. Sir, said his weapons officer, Sang-hoon Park. We need to get out of here. This isn't our fight. The alien creature grabbed Wusung's leg. Please. Our children are in the shelter below. If you help us reach them, ... Wusung understood. This was the test. Save themselves or save strangers. Choose humanity's survival or choose to be human. Pick up the weapons, he ordered his crew. We're going to hold the line, sir. These people need help? That's all I need to know. His crew looked at him like he was crazy, but they followed orders. They picked up the weapons and began firing at the ships above. The battle was hard. Wusung lost 3 crew members in the first 10 minutes. The alien ships were faster and stronger than anything humans had faced before. But every minute they held the line was another minute for the civilians to escape. When the last civilian was safe, the world vanished. Wusung and his crew stood back on their ship, but they were different now. They could feel power flowing through them. Real power. You chose others over yourselves, the ancient voice said. This is why the Eternals marked your species. This is why you were chosen. While Wusung faced his trial, the galaxy burned. Vorthok fleets attacked human colonies from every direction. Their ships darkened the skies above peaceful worlds, cities. that had stood for centuries became ash in minutes, but humans fought back with powers that grew stronger every day. Jungwon Lee commanded the battleship New Hope above the colony world Harmony. 50 Vorthok dreadnoughts surrounded his small fleet. Each enemy ship was 3 times bigger than his largest vessel. "Sir," his tactical officer said, "they're demanding surrender. If we refuse, they'll destroy the planet." Jungwon looked down. At Harmony, 5 million humans lived there. Farmers, teachers, children who had never hurt anyone. "Tell them to go to hell," he said. The Vorthok opened fire. Massive energy beams tore through space toward the human ships. Jungwon closed his eyes and reached out with his mind. Something amazing happened. The energy beams stopped in space. They hung there like frozen lightning. Jungwon could feel them in his thoughts. He could touch them, change them, control them, turn them around, he whispered. The beams spun in space and flew back at the Vorthok ships. Their own weapons tore their hulls apart. In 30 seconds, 20 enemy ships became drifting wreckage. "Impossible," the Vorthok admiral broadcast. "No species has that power." "We do now," Jungwon replied. But using such power came with a price. After the battle, Jungwon lay in the medical bay. His body was fine, but his mind felt strange. Empty, like part of him had been burned away. Dr. So Min-yoon examined him, and dozens of other humans who had used their new abilities. "They're losing themselves," she told the medical team. "Each time they use the power, they become less human, more like the crystal towers, cold, distant." "What does that mean?" "It means we're becoming gods. But gods don't love. They don't feel joy or sadness or fear, they just exist." Solomon looked at the brain scans of the affected humans. The patterns were changing, becoming simpler, more efficient, less alive. "The Eternals didn't disappear," she said quietly. "They became so powerful, they forgot how to be real. We're following the same path." While human soldiers fought in space, other humans made different discoveries. Hyabin Kwan worked deep in the intelligence center on Earth. Her job was to study captured Vorthok technology. But today she found something that made her blood run. "Cold Director," she called to her boss. "You need to see this." She showed him recordings from Vorthok military channels. The images showed massive tears in space itself. Through the tears, they could see nothing, not darkness, not empty space, nothing at all. "What are we looking at?" the director asked. "The Vorthok have been using weapons that damage reality itself," Hyabin said. "They're tearing holes in the universe. Can they be fixed?" Hyabin pulled up more data. "That's the strange part. They are being fixed. Something is repairing them. Making space whole again. What could do that?" "I think it's us, humans. When we use our powers, we're not just changing things. We're maintaining reality, keeping it stable." The director stared at the data. "You're saying we're cosmic repairmen?" "I'm saying we're the only thing keeping the universe from falling apart." But in the Nexus, Captain Woo-sung made a discovery that changed everything. Deep in the crystal archives, Myung-ju found records of the Eternals' last days. She translated them with her new understanding of ancient languages. "Sir," she said, her voice shaking, "the Eternals didn't choose to become gods, they had to. The universe was dying. Dark energy was winning. Matter was spreading so thin that stars would stop forming. Planets would freeze. Everything would end in cold and darkness. So, they became gods to stop it. They became gods to maintain it. To hold reality together with pure thought. But the process changed them. Made them so powerful they couldn't relate to mortal life anymore. Eventually, they just faded away. Became part of the cosmic background." Woo-sung understood now. The trials weren't just tests of worthiness, they were warnings. Choose power and lose your humanity. Stay human and watch the universe die. "There has to be another way," he said. "Sir, we're receiving a signal from Earth. The Vorthok main fleet has arrived. Over 10,000 ships, they're preparing to attack the solar system." Woo-sung looked At the massive crystal city around him, somewhere in here was the power to save humanity, the power to save the universe itself. But using it would cost them everything that made them human. The final test was about to begin. The Vorthok main fleet arrived at Earth like a storm of metal and death. 10,000 ships filled the space around humanity's home world. Each ship was the size of a city. Their weapons could turn planets into dust. Emperor Crystal stood on the bridge of his flagship. His black eyes stared at the blue world below. For the first time in 300 years of rule, he felt fear. "Begin the bombardment," he ordered. "I want nothing left, not even atoms." But before his ships could fire, something impossible happened. The space around Earth began to change. Reality itself twisted and bent. Human consciousness, powered by the crystal towers, reached out across the solar system. The laws of physics became suggestions that humans could ignore. Admiral Taeyun Choi commanded the defense of Earth from his flagship. He had only 500 human ships against 10,000 Vorthok vessels. The math was simple. Humans would lose. Then his weapons officer, Naehong Kim, stood up from her station. "Admiral," she said quietly, "let me try something." Before he could stop her, she placed her hands on the ship's main computer. Her eyes began to glow with the same light as the crystal towers. Every human ship in the fleet suddenly moved as one, not with engines or thrusters, they moved with pure thought. Naehong's thought, the Vorthok ships fired first. Thousands of energy beams lanced through space toward the human fleet. Enough firepower to destroy entire star systems. Naehong caught them all. The energy beams stopped in space like frozen rivers of light. She held them with her mind, then slowly turned them around. The Vorthok weapons fire flew back at their own ships. Explosions lit up the darkness. In 60 seconds, half the Vorthok fleet was burning wreckage. But the effort cost Naehong everything. She collapsed to the deck, her eyes empty and staring. She was alive, but the person she had been was gone. Only power remained. "Naehong, Admiral." Choi knelt beside her. She looked at him without recognition, like he was a stranger. "The enemy is defeated," she said, in a voice like wind through empty space. "The mission is complete." Dr. So Min-yoon had warned them this would happen. Each time humans used their godlike powers, they lost pieces of themselves. Soon there would be no humanity left to save. While the battle raged around Earth, other fights broke out across the galaxy. The Galactic Council had split into two groups. Half the alien species joined something called the Extinction Coalition. They believed humans had to die before they destroyed everything. The other half formed the Liberation Alliance. They were led by an old alien named Velteran from the Kethmori species. He looked like a tree made of silver metal, and he was very wise. "The humans are not our enemies," he told the Alliance meeting. "They are our hope. For too long, the Vorthok have ruled through fear. Now someone can stop them." "But what if the humans become the new tyrants?" asked a representative from the Crystal Vexnary race. "Look at their actions," Velteran said. "Even with godlike power, they save our people. They protect our worlds. They choose mercy over conquest." He was right. On a dozen worlds, human ships had arrived to defend alien colonies from Vorthok attacks. They didn't ask for payment or territory. They just helped because it was right, but not everyone believed humans were good. The Extinction Coalition launched their own attacks. Ships from 6 different species converged on human colonies. They used weapons designed to disrupt the crystal towers. If they could cut humans off from their power source, they could kill them all. The battle for Centauri Prime became the worst fight in galactic history. Commander Ji-hoon led the defense of the colony. He was a philosopher before the war, a man who thought about big questions and wrote books about the meaning of life. Now he commanded a fleet against enemies who wanted his species extinct. "Sir," his communications officer said, "the coalition fleet is demanding our surrender. They say if we give up our powers willingly, they'll let us live as prisoners." Ji-hoon looked at the sensor readings. 300 coalition ships surrounded his small fleet. On the planet below, 6 million humans lived, and worked, and loved. Tell them we choose freedom, he said. The coalition ships opened fire, but they made one mistake. They didn't understand what humans had become. Ji-hoon reached out with his mind and touched every human in the system. Every man, woman, and child. For just a moment, they all thought as one. They all shared the same will. The planet itself became a weapon. Gravity reversed around the coalition ships. The air in space became thick as water. Energy weapons turned into harmless light shows. Matter itself obeyed human will instead of natural law. In 10 minutes, the coalition fleet was defeated, but the cost was terrible. Thousands of humans fell into the same empty state as Naeong Kim. They had used too much power too fast. Ji-hoon looked at his hands. They were starting to glow with the same light as the crystal towers. He could feel his humanity slipping away like water through his fingers. We're becoming them, he whispered. We're becoming the In the Nexus at the Galaxy Center, Captain Wusung made contact with the last living Eternal. The being existed between dimensions, not fully real, not fully gone. It spoke to him through the crystal walls of the ancient city. I am Zephyr. It said, the last of my kind. I have watched and waited for someone to take our place. What happened to the others? Wusung asked. They became pure thought, pure energy. They saved the universe, but lost themselves completely. I stayed behind to guide the next species. To help them avoid our mistakes. How? The universe is dying, Zephyr explained. Dark energy grows stronger each day. It pulls matter apart. Stars will stop forming. Planets will freeze. All life will end in cold and emptiness. Wusung saw visions of the future, a cosmos growing dark and empty. The last stars flickering out like dying candles. Only godlike power can stop this, Zephyr continued. Someone must become the maintainers of reality. Someone must hold existence together with pure will. But if we do that, we stop being human. Yes. That is the price. Save the universe and lose your souls. Or stay human and watch everything die. There has to be another way. If there is, I could not find it. Neither could my people. The choice is always the same. Become gods, or let all things end. Wusung felt the weight of the decision. Not just for humanity, but for every living thing in the galaxy. Every child who laughed. Every love story. Every moment of joy and hope and wonder, all of it would die. Unless someone sacrificed their humanity to keep it alive. Back on Earth, the situation grew desperate. The Vorthok had lost half their fleet, but they still outnumbered humans 5-1. Worse, they had stopped using normal weapons. Emperor Krixtal activated the reality bombs. These weapons didn't just destroy things, they unmade them. They tore holes in the fabric of space and time itself. Everything they touched simply stopped existing. Sir, Admiral Choi's science officer reported, the reality bombs are creating cascade failures. Space itself is becoming unstable. Through the windows of his ship, Choi could see the damage. Stars flickered and went out. Entire sections of space collapsed into nothingness. The Vorthok were willing to destroy the universe rather than let humans inherit it. We have to stop this, he said. How, sir? If we use our powers to fight the bombs, we'll lose more of our humanity. Soon, there won't be any humans left to save. Choi looked at his crew. Good people who had families and dreams and hopes for the future. In a few hours, they might all be as empty as Naeong Kim. Alive, but not truly living. Contact Captain Wusung at the Nexus, he ordered. Tell him we need answers now. The universe is running out of time. In the Crystal City, Wusung received the message. Through the walls, he could see the damage spreading. Reality was breaking down. Soon the collapse would reach the Nexus itself. Zephyr, he called to the ancient being. Is there really no other choice? None that I can see, the paternal replied, sadly. Someone must choose. Will humanity sacrifice itself to save all other life? Or will you let everything end? Wusung closed his eyes and thought of Earth. Of children playing in parks. of lovers walking under stars, of all the beautiful, messy, wonderful things that made life worth living. The final choice was coming, and there was no more time to wait. The universe was dying. Captain Wusung stood in the heart of the Nexus as reality collapsed around him. Through the crystal walls, he could see stars going out. Whole sections of space simply disappeared as the Vorthok reality bombs tore bigger and bigger holes in existence. You must decide now, Zephyr's voice echoed through the ancient city. Accept the power of the Eternals and save everything, or stay human and watch it all end. Wusung thought of his crew, of the billions of humans fighting across the galaxy, of the alien children playing on distant worlds who didn't know they had minutes left to live. There has to be another way, he said. What way? I don't know yet, but humans always find another way. In space, above Earth, Admiral Tyon Choi watched his fleet fall apart. Half his ships had been touched by reality bombs. They flickered in and out of existence like broken holograms. His remaining crews were using their powers to hold the ships together, but each act of will cost them more of their humanity. Sir, his communications officer said, we're receiving a message from all human colonies. They want to know what to do. Choi looked at the tactical display. Across the galaxy, human worlds were under attack. The Extinction Coalition had joined the Vorthok assault. Millions of ships converged on human space from every direction. Put me through to everyone, he said. All human ships, all colonies, everyone. Channel open, sir. Choi took a deep breath. What he said next would decide the fate of humanity. Maybe the fate of everything. This is Admiral Choi, he began. I won't lie to you. We're losing. The enemy has more ships, more weapons, more of everything. Our only chance is to use our powers, all of them, together. He paused, thinking of Naeon Kim lying in the medical bay, empty eyes staring at nothing. But if we do that, we stop being human. We become something else. Something cold and distant, like gods who forgot how to love. Across the galaxy, millions of humans listened to his words. Soldiers in battle, families in shelters, children hiding in the dark. I can't make this choice for you, Choi continued. Each person has to decide. Stay human and probably die, or become gods and save the universe. The channel went quiet. Then, one by one, voices began to answer. This is Captain Lee on the far horizon. My crew chooses to fight. Colony ship, New Hope, reporting. We're with you. Mining Station 7. Count us in. Thousands of voices, millions, all saying the same thing. They would fight. They would use their power. They would save everyone, even if it cost them everything. But then another voice spoke. A young voice. A child. Wait, said 12-year-old Haihung Jung from New Seoul Colony. I have an idea. Admiral Choi frowned. Who is this? My name is Haihung. I'm just a kid. But I touched one of the crystal towers, and now I can hear things. I can hear the Eternals, all of them. That's impossible. They're gone. No, they're not. They're still here. They became part of the universe itself. They're the reason stars still shine. The reason planets still orbit. They gave up their bodies to become the rules that keep everything working. Choi felt a chill run down his spine. What are you saying? I'm saying we don't have to choose between being human or being gods. We can be both. We can share the power. Share it with who? With everyone. Every species, every living thing. Instead of humans becoming gods, we can make everyone a little bit godlike. The idea was crazy, impossible. But, as Haihung spoke, humans across the galaxy began to understand. The crystal towers weren't just power sources. They were connection points. They linked every conscious mind to the fabric of reality itself. The Eternals made a mistake, Haihung continued. They tried to hold all the power themselves. That's why they stopped being real? But if we spread the power out, if we share it with billions of minds, no one person has to carry too much. In the Nexus, Captain Wusung heard the child's words through the communication system. He looked at Zephyr's energy form floating in the crystal walls. Is it possible? He asked. I don't know, the ancient being replied. We never tried. We thought only the most advanced species could handle such power. You were wrong, Wusung said. You were thinking like gods. Humans think like humans. We share, we help, we lift each other up. He placed his hands on the central control crystal of the Nexus. How do I do it? I can show you the way, Zephyr said. But once you start, there's no going back. You'll be connected to every living mind in the galaxy forever. Good, Wusung smiled. I was getting lonely anyway. The change began at the galactic center and spread outward like a wave of light. Every crystal tower on every world began to pulse in rhythm. Not just on human worlds, but on alien worlds too. The towers had been there all along, hidden and sleeping, waiting for this moment. On the Vorthok homeworld, Emperor Crystal felt something new stirring in his mind, a connection to the universe he had never felt before. He could sense the pain his wars had caused, the fear, the suffering. For the first time in his life, he understood what it meant to hurt someone else. Stop the attack, he whispered to his fleet commanders. My lord, I said, stop, cease fire immediately. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out. Sector warriors felt compassion for their enemies. Vexnari traders learned the joy of giving instead of taking. The gaseous Nethra discovered what it meant to cry tears of happiness. But the greatest change happened to humans themselves. Instead of becoming cold gods, they became more human than ever. Connected to every other mind, they felt the full weight of love and hope and dreams of trillions of beings. They became the living heart of the galaxy, pumping compassion and understanding to every corner of space. The reality bombs stopped working. How could they destroy what was loved by so many minds? The holes in space began to heal as billions of conscious beings willed them closed. Dr. So Min-yoon watched from her laboratory as the transformed humans around her began to wake up. Naehong Kim opened her eyes and smiled. I remember now, she said. I remember who I am. But I also remember who everyone else is too. On Earth, young Min Jae-hong was born just as the transformation completed. He was the first child born into the new galaxy. When he opened his eyes, they held the wisdom of every species but the wonder of a human baby. His mother, Dr. Yoonji Cho, looked down at him and saw the future. Not human supremacy, but universal cooperation. Not conquest, but understanding. What will you call him? Asked the nurse. Hope, Youngji said. His name is Hope. Years later, when the galaxy had grown peaceful and prosperous, children would ask their parents about the old days. About the time when species fought each other instead of helping. The parents would tell them. About the humans who chose to share power instead of hoarding it. Who became gods not to rule, but to serve. Who proved that the greatest strength wasn't in taking, but in giving. And in the crystal cities that now existed on every world, the spirits of the Eternals finally found peace. They had spent eons looking for a species wise enough to inherit their power. They never thought to look for a species kind enough to give it away. Captain Wusung, now connected to every mind in the galaxy, smiled as he felt the universe grow stronger with each passing day. The stars burned brighter. New worlds formed. Life flourished in places that had been dead for millions of years. We did it, he said to Zephyr. We found another way. You did more than that, the ancient being replied. You found a better way. The Eternal saved the universe by sacrificing themselves. Humans saved it by including everyone. In the end, the ancient gods had chosen wisely. Not because humans were stronger or smarter than other species, but because humans understood something the gods had forgotten. The best way to be powerful is to make sure everyone else is powerful too. The universe was no longer dying, it was growing, and at its heart beat the combined consciousness of every living thing, connected by crystal towers and human hearts that never learned to stop caring. The age of gods was over. The age of family had begun.